of things. So who are building those large language models? Here is a graph of the large language models created by startups and their fundings. Okay, so you can see OpenAI on the left is the biggest one, which has 14 billion investments in them. Microsoft injected $10 billion, right? So that's what they invested very early on when OpenAI announced ChatGPT. So, and then they incorporate that into Azure, right? So in their cloud computing services. There are also other smaller ones that's closed source, which means we can only access the service via APIs, right? You don't say the model parameters, you cannot, you can retrain on them, but you have to pass your data over to them to train it on theirs. There are also open source ones, like Hugging Face, which is a machine learning website that has a lot of data set and algorithms. You can check it out and you can find the code that's working there. Okay, they have a large language model that's open source. That is, the parameters are open. They also release their data that they use to train this large language model. It's just very costly to do that, but theoretically, you can take their data, their model, and do it yourself, and you have your own large language model. You have the same capacity with theirs. You still have to do instruction fine-tuning, reward training, and policy training to make it the performance very well, right? So, but there are open source ones here. And in terms of their capacities, a lot of them are focusing on text, but OpenAI does both text and image. This Adapt also does both text and image. And Stability, which is the producer of Stable Diffusion, another very popular image generation open source project. They focus on images. And they call it the multi-model. That is, you can both deal with images and text at the same time, like the next frontier. Those companies are competing on that. So these are startups, but there are something missing from this. Where are the big techs? Okay, so we have Google, which released the Palm 2, is their large language model. And we have Meta released the Llama 2, which is their large language model. Now you have two big tech have their own large language models. Microsoft, instead of developing that themselves, just injected $10 billion very early on into OpenAI. And they're just using OpenAI in their services. And they have a contract with them. So now, recently, Amazon had their own large language model, but it cannot compete with all this. So recently, they committed $4 billion to Anthropic, which is the producer of Cloudy, another very popular large language model or generative AI service provider. So they committed $4 billion, and Google committed another $2 billion to Anthropic. So Anthropic, the funding side is going to become very big. So that's kind of the landscape of the providers. So they're all competing in this foundation models, as they call it, because you have the large language models, which focuses on the texts. You have the image models, they call it diffusion models, that's focusing on images. And to have a unique name, like a unified name for them, they call it foundation models. Okay, so these are the infrastructure layer of things. Like so one question